Welcome to Demerara, Rogue Stories, an isometric dialogue-based point-and-click single-player role-playing game. It is a strange epic that takes place in an enclosed, egg-shaped, hyper-capitalist megalopolis that is nearing its end. In Demerara, Rogue Stories, the player is given the role of a rogue, and the game mechanics are emblematic of the rogue class. There's dialogue, sneaking, and hacking. Both dialogue and sneaking have prototypes, which you will see later in this video. Hacking is still on the drawing board. The player character is currently built out of 3 parameters: grades, gender, and skills. Grades are similar to stats in other RPGs, but we are only using 3: body, mind, and soul. Mind boosts your awareness, intelligence, and problem-solving capabilities, and is vital for technical knowledge required for hacking. Body reflects the character's physical prowess and nimbleness in sneaking. Soul is the mirror of your personality. A soulful being is considered charming by others, and their social skills help to converse smoothly with Demerarians. In this game, we introduce genders in a similar manner as race in fantasy games. These genders are semi-fictional and reflect the Demerarian culture. For example, cybersex gender identity is bound to technology, and they would express their sexuality with cybernetics or through virtual avatars, while gender fluid would adapt their sex identity to fit the person they are pursuing. Gender will have effect on how NPCs will react to your presence and is reflected through dialogue. Skills are powers, upgrades, and narrative unlocks which you will be able to purchase as you advance through the game. There are 2 skill trees to invest in: PsyOps and TechOps. PsyOps refer primarily to the dialogue aspect of the game, while TechOps refers to both sneaking and hacking. These 3 parameters, grades, gender, and skills, all affect the dice rolls the player will be doing throughout the game. Here you see the beginning of the possible intro scene for the game, a talk show episode that ends up in a terrorist attack. This scene is a bit closer to how we imagine the finished product looking.
We can't wait much longer for him. It's the 3rd fucking time he does this. I swear, this is the last time I'll invite that oversized man-boar.
Percy suddenly realizes his error and visibly shrinks.
I apologize, I meant no offense to your... Wait, are you listening?
Elena, seemingly deep in thought, just sits there staring at the empty chair. Her body settles into a relaxed position. The white of her eye turns blue just before closing.
Sir, are you all right?
It is not present. Give time.
What do you mean by not present? Is she deforming?
Evidently.
Percy starts sweating nervously.
What could possibly be so important for her as to deform now? She better be quick about it.
Be calm, you youthful Shinto. It will take the time it requires. Your stress levels are too high and not needed at the moment. I could supply you with a dose of Hypnochill. Would you like that?
You know, I think I will. Is she with Ebenezer?
Ebenezer?
Almost as if returning from a deep dive, Elena takes in a full lung of air and refocuses her attention on the material plane. She turns her head to look at the owl before returning her gaze to Percy.
Hope he wasn't a bother. He can be very direct. He means well.
Is he on his way or not? What did he say?
With a calm smile, Elena waves her hand at Percy.
He's not coming. Should we start?
Eve and welcome to Down and Personal. a series of old-fashioned talks where we try to get behind the mask of the most talked about, whispered about, probably lied about VIPs of this cycle. I'm your host Percy, and this stream is brought to you from Prison Media. Hail to the chief! With me today is former CEO and game director, Lithium Tier High Gamer, Sir Elena Ford. Welcome, Mr. Ford.
Dialogue and interaction with other Demerarians play a major role in the gameplay and represent the first gameplay pillar of the game. Through these interactions, the character will dive into the world of Demerara, partake in micro and macro conflicts of the world, make ideological and ethical choices, and direct the flow of their story. As part of the dialogue, the player will engage in dialogue combat. This happens through dialogue stances. The stances are divided into 3, Alpha, Beta, and Omega, and they work like an advanced rock-paper-scissors interaction between the player and the NPCs. Alpha means an assertive but stubborn demeanor. Beta registers as kind, compliant, and submissive attitude, and Omega represents uncertainty, a wildcard character. Alpha beats Beta, Beta beats Omega, and Omega beats Alpha. In dialogue combat, this means that choosing an Alpha stance when met with an NPC in a Beta stance, the difficulty check will become easier. Both the player and NPCs will take on these stances in dialogue, and this confrontation will be solved by dice rolls. The player will have to succeed in a difficulty check defined by their choice of stance, skills, gender, and grades. In this dialogue sequence, we will try to convince a SOC technician to give us the code for the computer terminal. We can see this is a soul check, meaning that we have an amount of dice equal to our soul grade number. Reading from the environment, story, and animation, we could try to deduct what stance the technician is currently in. The situation seems dire. They are shaking, leaning up against the wall. They are definitely not Alpha. This means they could be Beta or Omega. We will try to roll with an Alpha stance, hoping that the technician is a Beta. If this is correct, it would make our difficulty check easier. Our decision defines our difficulty check as displayed on the screen. This means that we have to roll at this amount of successes. A success is a 5 or a 6. In order to boost our chances, we will add one special soul die. These special dice are 4-sided and they succeed on a 4. Failure. We did not succeed and did not get the codes. In this case, we could have been more attentive to the dialogue, which indicates that the technician is in a state of shock and losing grip with reality, a clear case of Omega. In this scene, the terror attack has happened and the player needs to avoid an aggressive hacked drone. The textures and models you see here are currently placeholders. Sneaking is the second gameplay pillar in Demerara Rogue Stories. It introduces both pacing, atmosphere, and movement elements to the game. The player will have to sneak and tiptoe to get around both the cityscape and virtual spheres in real time. They will have to carefully choose their path and use the environment and shadows to their advantage in order to avoid detection. NPCs will be able to detect the player within their vision cones and sound spheres. If detected, the player will suffer the consequences of trespassing, which could result in loss of credits, specific narrative turns, or unwanted dialogue. Successfully sneaking will allow the player to enter restricted areas, obtain valuables, and progress certain storylines. A similar dice roll system to the one observed in the dialogue with the technician is applied in interaction with objects and the environment. Here we see an example of the player trying to make a jump over a pile of debris. The player has to make a body check with difficulty rating of 3. The player has chosen to put 2 points in the body, therefore they have 2 dice to make the jump. The difficulty rating tells us that 3 dice have to be successes in order to make the jump. In order to even give us a chance, we need to add 1 special die. Demerara Rogue Stories is based on a pen and paper RPG we developed ourselves. By turning it into a computer game, we are hoping to invite a bigger audience to experience this unique and rich universe. During the game, we want to challenge the player to make unconventional or unanticipated decisions while still giving them a feeling that they are authoring their own unique story. Our target audience are adults, and the game explores adult dilemmas and has mature themes. Our intention is to create a game with immersive narrative gameplay and captivating visual aesthetics, so the player will want to play it through again and again.